Hi and welcome to Dean Park as I put Accurascale's all-new Class 92 under close inspection. The British Rail Class 92 is a dual-voltage electric locomotive which can run on either 25 kV AC from overhead wires or 750 volt DC from a third rail. It was specifically designed to operate services through the Channel Tunnel between Great Britain and France. The fleet of 46 locomotives was built by a consortium of Brush Traction and ABB Traction, the initial locos of the class being completed in 1993. The body shells are of a similar design to Brush's Class 60 diesel locomotive, but with a modified front end, and these were all delivered in the then standard rail freight grey livery. The locomotive is fitted with both rheostatic and regenerative braking, in addition to the standard air brake equipment. An electric train bus is fitted to enable two locos to work in multiple formations, either double heading or on a push-pull train with a driving van trailer or a DBSO. To reduce the possibility of a locomotive failure in the Channel Tunnel, most of the electrical systems are duplicated, including the roof-mounted pantographs. The Class 92 was intended as a mixed traffic locomotive, both for hauling international freight and the ill-fated, never-introduced Nightstar passenger sleeper trains through the Channel Tunnel. The failure of this project actually rendered some of the class redundant before they were even built. Since introduction, the fleet was exclusively allocated to freight. However, in March 2015, 6 locomotives owned by GB Rail Freight have begun passenger service operations hauling the Caledonian Sleeper on behalf of Serco between London and Scotland, making it the first use of the class in commercial passenger service. The Class 92 remains the primary locomotive used on this Anglo-Scot nightly service, which runs between the major capitals of the United Kingdom, including London, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Inverness. The Class 92 proving ideal for hauling the new Mark V sleeper stock up the West Coast Main Line. I recently treated myself to the Caledonian Sleeper experience, and some of that footage can be seen on my Big Trip South video. The link to that will appear at the end of this video. The locos started their life in triple grey rail freight livery before moving to the ownership of EWS following privatisation in the mid-1990s. It was intended that the locos would be treated to the attractive maroon and gold EWS livery. However, only 2 of the class ever received this livery. EWS actually weren't keen to incorporate the Class 92 into their portfolio, and even tried to delete it from their sales agreement, but without success. Following the takeover of EWS by DB Schenker, some of the class have been painted into the all-over red livery of the German operator. 6 locos have been outshopped in the overall Caledonian blue livery for use on sleeper services, while other Class 92s wear the GBRF blue and orange. A locos also carried Stobart Rail blue, with some of the stored locos still wearing the grey livery, a throwback to their early days in service. The Class 92s have something of a cult following, with much of this being down to their striking appearance and wide range of liveries. There's also much praise for the policy of naming the locomotives after famous composers and writers. Today the class still inspires much interest, particularly on the Scottish sleeper trains. Many of the class have led a relatively easy life, so therefore they've got a lot of life left in them, despite being nearly 30 years old. With the revival of sleeper services to Europe, the Class 92 may yet haul sleeper trains through the Channel Tunnel. Okay, let's look at the model, which is 92022 in original rail freight distribution livery, which the loco would have worn upon leaving the works just prior to acceptance into service. Now, I don't often get myself excited about the packaging, but I have to mention that it looks really good. Accurascale have gone to town on their exclusive editions of the 92. Upon opening the box, there's another Accurascale first for me, which is the limited edition certificate signed by the Accurascale family. That's actually a nice personal touch, not just being signed by the boss, but the whole team. Bravo Accurascale, I really appreciated that little touch. The overall packaging is robust with lots of foam cushioning and the standard ice cube container for supporting the loco. I have to report that unlike the Deltics, I had no parts floating around the packaging, with all the detail remaining intact on the model. That's a welcome step up in quality. The edge plates are also included, cut off from their frets, which will make fitting them a much less time consuming job. There's also a bag of detail if you wish to add even more to the model, and there's also a nice instruction manual, again a step up from the Deltic. The model depicts 92022, which was named Charles Dickens, quite apt for this time of the year. When I look at the name, I can't help but think of the Christmas Carol. However, Accurascale have been anything but Scrooge-like with the detail they have generously included on this model. First off, I'll start with the roof, with the sunken channels that are absolutely rammed with detail, both moulded, etched and separately fitted. This is all sharply moulded and fitted with precision, with no signs of glue or untidy assembly. It really does have that wow factor, and that's even before I've looked at the twin pantographs. These operating pantographs are an engineering work of art in 00 gauge. They eclipse the Hornby pantographs and, dare I say it, even edge out the impressive Heljan 86 and exquisite operating pantographs of the Bachmann Class 90. Dare I say that? Well, we'll find out shortly when I put them to test on the layout. The cab roofs are adorned with the correct details, including operating high-level light and separately fitted twin air horns. Moving to the side of the loco, and this has a slab-sided design similar to that on the Class 60. In the case of the 92, it's broken up with flawlessly fitted etched grills for the air intakes. Moving along, we have the triple rings, which symbolise the Channel Tunnel, the project that ultimately gave rise to the development of the 92 in the first place, but which has never really truly realised its potential on this route. At the cab sides, there are separately fitted handrails and the door handles that are moulded but perfectly picked out in silver. The cab is also adorned with finely printed details and a sharp depot plaque with the eagle depicting Crew Depot, where the class was stationed and maintained. If I was being really picky, I can see some of the circuit boards through the cab window there. I'm assuming that the twin pantographs that operate take up quite a bit of circuitry and space might be tight in there, so they've had to kind of push it almost to the cab bulkhead to fit it all in. The cab front, or the face of the loco, is well captured, with the subtle curves around the light clusters being captured to a T. The cab windows are nice and thin, with little prism effect. My example has a couple of fingerprints on the inside, something that should be easily rectified when placing the drivers in the cab. I'll just give it a quick wipe from the inside. The 92 is a single lamp iron that is finely represented, but finest of all are the paper-thin looking etched wipers. These are just exquisite, probably the finest wipers I've seen on a 00 gauge model so far. The metal buffers have a quality feeling spring mechanism just like those found on the company's Deltic. The buffer beam has a wealth of detail already fitted, so if you're one of those modelers who doesn't like to fit additional pipework, you'll still have a realistic model of this 92. A mini tension lock NEM socket is fitted at each end of the loco. The cab is nicely detailed and lit, with Accurascale's now trademark lit instrument dials on the driver's console. The underframe and bogies are a real festive feast for the eyes, with lots of finely moulded and separately fitted details. There are both fitted pipes and those that appear so fine that they must be moulded, but are finely picked out in paint. Of course, being a loco that can pick up power from the third rail, the Brecknell Willis shoe gear is correctly included on the bogies, and those are picked out in silver. The wheels are a correctly scaled down version of the 1.16 metre wheels fitted to the actual loco. Slung under the frame between the bogies is additional detail, which has the parts carefully picked out in the correct colours, and just above that there are some extremely fine printed details. Under the skin, the actual Class 92s had their internal parts divided into 5 key areas. Obviously we've got the 2 cab ends, but between them there was a common zone situated in the middle, with bogie zones 1 and 2 situated at either side. This loco has twin flywheels and more than enough power to move the die-cast alloy chassis. This model is fitted with DCC sound, with a twin speaker arrangement to get the best out of the sound file. Other internal details include helical gearing for accurate top speed and a power pack capacitor for uninterrupted running. I really like this feature on the Deltic, but buyer beware, if you suddenly see your Loco is going to run into something and you cut the power, the Loco will take a few seconds to stop. I've had a few scary moments with my Deltic where I'd forgotten the Stay Alive was on board. And finally, the wheels are swappable for EM or P4 gauge wheels if you model in those scales. Looking at the livery, I can happily report that on this example there were no issues, flaws or marks. Once again, this is a step up from the Deltic, which while an excellent model, did have some finishing issues on some examples. Accurascale have the livery shades spot on with this model, with the greys being wonderfully reproduced. They've also done their homework, even down to the gap in the finely painted cantrail stripe at the corners of the cab. The bluey-grey roof is striking and really suits this class of Loco. All printed detail is crisp and clean and extremely well detailed. The 3 rings on the side of the Loco have been clearly picked out in silver paint. These do look good, however, and I'm being picky here, some modelers may have preferred these to be painted flat to allow the fitting of etched silver rings. However, this is a minor point, as the way Accurascale have done this really sets off the look nicely. The nameplates on this Loco look really good, even without the fitted plates. However, as I recently found out when fitting some plaques and BR arrows on a Class 47, they do have an added benefit of enhancing the model. So I plan to add the plaques and plates to this model sometime in the near future. All in all, this is an exquisitely produced model from Accurascale. It's now time to test it on Dean Park. I shall run it both light engined and with some freight, sometimes at unrealistic speeds, just to see how it handles the point work and the curves. I'll also go through some of the sound functions, of which there are a few. I'll go through some of the functions with you. F0, as always, is the head and tail lights. The white headlights are at the right hand side of your screen. As you could probably see in the right hand cab there, the driver's dials have illuminated. If I want the engine to start up, I'll press F1 and automatically one of the pantographs will go up. This is because it's running in the AC mode, i.e. it needs overhead wires to operate. If I want to change direction, obviously you do that as you would normally do, and you might just be able to see that the illuminated dials have gone off in the right cab, and you might just be able to see they've come on in the left. I can run it like that with the leading pantograph up, but more often than not you had the trailing pantograph taking power from the overhead wires. To do that, or to switch them across, you select F17. The F17 is a kind of either or pantograph. It's got to have one of them up because it's running in the AC mode. There we go. I'm going to take it off to the left hand side of the screen now. It'll fire up and off it goes. Right, I've brought it back onto the screen, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change it over to DC mode, i.e. picking up power from a third rail. So for that I select F8, which puts it into DC mode, and both pantographs will remain down. I can then just drive it as normal. I'd like to say that operating the pantograph was easy for me straight out of the box, but I had to get my head around it, and thanks to Accurascale technical support and Fran down at Accurascale, as well as Martin Finbo, who provided me with a kind of almost a step-by-step setup of how to operate the pantographs independently. So thanks guys for your help there, really appreciated. it is really effective, the pantograph operation. There are CVs that you can change to lower the operating height of the pantograph. I'll put that on a screen later in the video. I've not tried it yet myself, but I'll have to lower it just ever so slightly to clear some of my Dapple Mark III masts and spans. So I'll be doing that before fully operating it on the layout using the AC overhead wires. I'll run it around the layout now, go through some of the other functions as it's running, and you can get an idea of the quality of the sound. I'm impressed with it. It's my first AC loco that I've got with sound fitted, and it's a lot better than I thought it would be, if I'm being brutally honest. It really has got that kind of powerful surge and a pickup at the start, and the horns are really crisp and sharp. So ESU have done a fantastic job programming this Loksound decoder, obviously with a lot of input from Accurascale, so you've done a fantastic job of getting it to operate just like the real thing. As I mentioned in one of my previous clips, there is a way to alter the pantograph settings so the pantograph can sit slightly higher or slightly lower depending on your OHLE. You've got to change a few CVs. I'll put these at the bottom of the screen. You have to ensure that CV31 is set at 16 and CV32 is set at 0. Now when I read the decoder straight off, they were the two values that it was already set at. So just double check that before you go any further. Then what you've got to do, the two CVs to alter the heights of each pantograph, CV360 and CV368, and these are set to a default of 25. The higher the number you go there, the lower the pantograph will set when it's in its raised position. And I'll show you that just now as I go to the settings, and I'll put on the pantograph test functions, which are 26 and 27. So I'll raise one first of all, and then I'll do 27. Now the right hand one hasn't been altered in height yet. That's still sitting at a default 25. The left hand pantograph I've set at 40, and that is low enough to clear all my registration arms and overhead masts. So I'm going to obviously alter the right hand pantograph as you see it now to the same value so I can operate it with the pans up under the wires. One thing I didn't put in the review was that Accurascale give the Class 92 owner a nice little handy guide there as to how to unclip the pantograph, which is really important before trying to raise it obviously, and they also provide some window blinds in varying configurations of use there. So I'll be adding those to my Class 92 in due course. Okay, it's now time to rate this model. Appearance and accuracy is a 5-arrow rating. Simple as that. I can't fault the job Accurascale have done on this. Performance is also 5. I really enjoyed operating it on the layout. It was powerful, smooth and near silent in operation. It's a lengthy loco, but yet had no issues around the curves or across any point work, even when driven at speed. The electronic capabilities built into this model are excellent. The twin operating pantographs were great fun to use, and it's good to see that by changing some CVs, the height can be set to suit different OHLE. The light and suite and sound file are excellent, and the twin speakers already fitted in the loco really get the sound of the 92 across. As I've mentioned earlier, the fit and finish is a step up from the excellent Deltic. The Class 92 is a little bit more refined, crisper, and nothing has fallen off just by touching it, so full marks here. Packaging is bulletproof and looks great. The loco is firmly and securely held inside the box. Detail is excellent, and the added features such as the cab interior, fine grills, and roof detail make this a truly wonderful model of the Class 92. Value for money will always divide opinion. Some people want everything for next to nothing, while others will happily buy several locos regardless of the cost. However, for judging this model in the current cost climate, I can honestly say that to get a model of this detail and quality, it's certainly worth saving up to £280 for this sound fitted example. Even at £190 for the standard model, it still comfortably undercuts Hellian's Class 86 and a Hornby Class 91, and both models don't come close to matching the level of detail and features of the Accurascale model. I'm not saying the model is cheap, of course it's not, but compared to similar models from other manufacturers, it's good value for money. I've therefore awarded it 4 arrows out of 5. Overall, this is a 5-arrow model. It really is a special product. I wasn't even going to buy one, as it's slightly out of my era. However, if I choose to have a mid-1990s running session with my Swallow and G&AR Class 91s, my Swallow Class 90 and other locos of the era, then I can have the 92 on the layout at the same time without creating an unrealistic scene. It'll be no surprise therefore that when it comes to my verdict, I say you should just go ahead and buy one, but don't hang about, as not surprisingly they're proving rather popular. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please share all feedback by using the comment section below. Maybe you've got your own Class 92 from Accurascale. I'd really be interested to hear what you think of yours. In the meantime, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. In the meantime, happy modelling, take care, and cheers for now.